Leave it all on the court. Leave it all on the field. You gotta give it 100. That's from your head to your heel. This is the time that you want it. It's time to jump in and run it. Let's get to jumping and running into securing the deal. This ain't pretend, it's for real. Turn up the temp just a little. With stakes so high,
he's gonna make the throw. It's a touchdown.
Good looking for him. Long throw as always. Mike Evans, he scores again.
Mix it up for the combine. Push it to the limit. How I give it at the combine. Bet I blow your mind when it's lights, camera, showtime.
Welcome to the Combine on a glorious Monday afternoon where we are joined by the one and only, the former producer of this here show, Nick Cohen, Mr. NRC, Mr. Cohen, Mr. Devil in a Red Dress, sitting across from me. This is a different year, okay? Every single year, we have the NFL offseason, we have the NFL season, we have the NFL playoffs, the Super Bowl. Everything leads to this right here. The NFL draft, okay? Every year we do it. Every year we do it big. Cohen knows it. I know it. It's the best time of year. And every year, HTF, which, shameless plug, we do a draft show. A live 4-hour draft show during the first round of the NFL draft. We cover every pick, start to finish, from that first round. And every year, we're usually right on the money. Me and Nick Cohen last year, well, I don't know about you. I had 13 picks in the right place.
I did not, but... it could have been worse.
But this year's going to be even better because instead of doing a mock and then our show, or 2 mocks and then our show, we're going to do 3 mocks and our show. We're going to do one right now, one post-free agency, one right before the draft. Those are going to be the 3. We're going to have the best draft of all time, and our mock is going 32 for 32.
Oh, yeah.
So starting off with our
We're going to inspire GMs to follow
we're going. Yeah, Chris Ballard watches this stream. I guarantee it. Oh, yeah. That guy watches Pat McAfee. Hears about, what's this, group of kids over at UCF who went 13 picks and tied Peter Schrager last year for the most number of right picks on the NFL mock draft. This kid might know his stuff. And tune in. Hey, Chris Ballard, okay? Tyler Warren is a beautiful prospect.
He is.
Okay? Got a little bit of barbecue sauce left on my fingers. There's Tyler Warren. Oh, my God. I really like him, actually. But this is our first ever mock draft. This is mock 1.0 from NRC and Ty Paton. And this is the hosts of the draft show coming soon. Potentially a little more going to be joining the fold in a little bit. But we'll wait and see. No official word yet. But starting off with the mock 1.0, okay. Tennessee Titans are on the clock, Nick Cohen. I'll add the little chime in here right now.
Dun, 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 dun.
Thank you. Of course. They have a lot of room they could work with, okay? Quarterback is a big need. Edge is a big need. Corner is a big need. Really everything is a big need, but there's a few premium picks available in this class up at the top 4. Who are they taking?
Abdul Carter, best player in the draft.
Best player in the draft
Absolutely.
is
there's only a select amount of players or positions that do actually go number 1. Offensive tackle sometimes, edge a lot of times, quarterback more times than not, and that's kind of it. That's like those are your options at number 1, and it is kind of a lackluster quarterback class. And I personally still think the Titans will sign Sam Darnold out of free agency if he makes his way to free agency. So they wouldn't have to draft a quarterback. So give him Abdul Carter, best player in the draft.
Yeah, and this is a guy that you look at as a prospect, and you see him, and you almost want to call him Micah Parsons. Like, the build is similar. The play style is similar.
I've heard
6'3", 250-ish pounds, 12 sacks on the year. He's a great fit. I mean, GM of the Titans said he wanted a generational prospect over just taking their best need available, and Abdul Carter might be that pick. But with him off the board, the Cleveland Browns, who are supposedly trading Myles Garrett this offseason, cannot take an edge rusher. Nick Cohen, stay on the clock right here. Tell everybody who they're picking it to.
So, lackluster quarterback class, but the Browns are a lackluster team, kind of in a tough situation. But at the same time, they might just be a quarterback away. We've been saying that for a couple years, and it hasn't been answered. Now they have a couple more holes, but they should have some room to work with this offseason. They're going to take Cam Ward, number 2, get their quarterback of the future. He is an older prospect, lots of experience in college, but, in my opinion, and in our opinion, quarterback 1 in the class pretty easily.
very easily. Good player, 6'2", 220 pounds. Okay, excellent pocket presence. Now, he does have a couple hang-ups in that he spent his first 2 years of his career with, I cannot remember the name, FCS school. Incarnate Ward. You are absolutely correct. And those are some of his best statistical years with Incarnate Ward. He comes to Miami. Great year, undoubtedly.
Washington State first.
Yes, he had Washington State for 2 years after Incarnate Ward, but for this year then specifically, winds up with Miami. Great year, statistically speaking, 4,500 yards, great touchdown-interception ratio, but not a great setup against ranked opponents. Could not find wins. That's my one hang-up with the guys.
Absolutely.
I believe he's 1-7 or 0-7 against ranked opponents. With that pocket presence, though, could be something special. You just got to give him the right coaching. Probably doesn't find it in Cleveland. So unfortunate, tough sledding, pal. Yeah. But, welcome to Ohio. All right, Next picked up. Okay. I got a lot of words to say about this guy. I'm going to let you talk about who he is, where he's going. But I got some words.
So number 3, to the Giants in the Big Apple. Not really because it's New Jersey, but we won't get into that. Shedeur Sanders is going to go. And that is not because, I'm telling you, that is not because he's worthy of the number 3 pick. It is because it is a pretty bad quarterback class, and he just so happens to probably be the second best in the class, and there's numerous teams that really need quarterbacks. So to get a fix, the Giants will take Shedeur Sanders. He had Travis Hunter in Colorado. Now he'll have Malik Neighbors, and but
then he's got Daniel Bellinger at tight end and a bunch of nobodies. Quandale Dingle at wide receiver too.
Yep. Darius Slayton, maybe.
This guy stinks. Okay, 6'2", 215, very full of himself, very inflated ego. 4,100 total yards, 41 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 4-to-1 ratio. Not bad, but he's also playing in Big 12 football.
Yes.
Okay, we thought KJ Jefferson was going to look halfway decent coming to UCF. He didn't.
Boy, were we wrong.
Yeah, he steps into Big 12 football. He sucks. Shedeur Sanders, try putting that guy in the SEC. Watch him go 7 touchdowns for 45 interceptions. Okay. Yep. I don't think this guy would do anything special, and it kind of hurts me that Travis Hunter's not the pick right here, but at the same point, we know the Giants organization. We know what they do. We know how they draft, and this is typically how they draft, okay? It's a little bit unfortunate, but we'll wait and see. Maybe in mocks 2 and 3 things change, things move around, but right now he is the pick. Now, 4th, I'm going to kind of run through because there's not many people that New England could take. They could take corner, but Christian Gonzalez, absolute dog. Love his game. Outside of that, you got O-tackle, you got wide receiver. Okay, your 2 picks are Tet McMillan or one of the O-tackles, whether it's Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell, Josh Simmons, whoever you want it to be, okay? Will Campbell, there are a few questions about his arm length. But the guy's sitting at 6'6", 323 pounds.
Come on.
Okay, that is a premier left tackle, okay, if I've ever seen one.
Good athlete, too, so...
Yeah, 2 sacks allowed on 866 snaps, but he's playing with the LSU Tigers. He's not playing against bums. You bring him into New England, he's automatically a great fix. Okay, next up, number 5, our boy's finally going to go off the board. Nick Cohen, who is it?
I don't know what you mean by our boy. I'm not the biggest fan of Travis Hunter.
What are you talking about?
Not as a player, great. I can't deny that he's a great football player, but... I don't know, something about him, again, just not my favorite player. He does go to the Jaguars, though. I think he was definitely in contention to go to the Patriots at 4, but, Mike Vrabel is a trenches guy and really values that, and the offensive line for the Patriots is just terrible. So Travis Hunter to the Jaguars is a great pick. I think they need cornerback help, and he could also play receiver for them a little bit, which wouldn't hurt.
And Field Yates and Daniel Jeremiah both said it best. This guy could also moonlight at receiver if you need him to.
Exactly.
And with questions about Christian Kirk potentially getting traded, he could be a terrific wide receiver for slot guy. Moving on. We just talked about him. We'll run through it a little bit. Las Vegas Raiders, Jacoby Myers is the best wide receiver. You need some help for Brock Bowers. They're going to get it here with Tet McMillan out of Arizona. Okay, Mike Evans comp here. 6'5", 212 pounds, 84 receptions on the year with 1,300 yards and 8 touchdowns. Okay, this is the kind of guy that you can build a receiver room around. A lot of people saying he's going to fall. I really don't believe so. But next up, New York Jets. Okay, a lot of places they could go. You and me both think they could take defensive back. Unfortunately, that's not the case. There is a cat by the name of Mason Graham out of the Michigan Wolverines, 6'3", 320 pounds, who is just an absolute menace, a game wrecker. And for a Jets team that has so many players on one-year rosters, they need somebody on defense that can do something here. And Mason Graham is going to be that force. But next up, this is another guy that we had up very, very high. Some people are saying he's going to fall. I don't believe so. To the Carolina Panthers, Nick Cohen, who do we have?
Will Johnson. If he doesn't go to the Jets, he's 100% going to the Panthers. He's the best true corner in the draft, in my opinion, over Travis Hunter.
Agreed.
He's great, and there's zero reason he should fall, and a great fit for the Panthers, opposite of J.C. Horn.
Yeah, good size, 2.62, 202, and 2 interceptions for 2 pick sixes this year is nothing to scoff at. But somebody that I really liked mocking to the Panthers, Malachi Starks.
Yes.
Going number 9 to New Orleans. Okay, this guy Starks out of Georgia, 6'1", 205 pounds, 77 tackles, 3 pass deflections, and a pick. This is a guy that could almost play off-ball linebacker if you need him to. Okay, he's got so much versatility in the defensive back room. Can really play any. You could play a defensive end if you want him to. This guy is pretty much a Swiss Army knife. If Taysom Hill played defense, this is the guy.
Yeah.
All right. Saints are going to use him beautifully. Hopefully he manages to take over Tyrann Mathieu's spot when that guy eventually decides to retire since he's 65. And lastly, somebody that you love, Nick Cohen, is going to be headed to the Chicago Bears. Big boy out of Mizzou. Who do you got?
Yeah, Armand Membu. He's listed at tackle. I would not recommend playing tackle in the NFL just because he is a little bit smaller. He would profile much better at offensive guard, and that's exactly what the Bears need. He would be the best guard in the class if he does play guard. Bears could go in a number of different positions. Defense could always use some help, even though their defense is pretty good. But offensive line to protect Caleb Williams and give him a true breakout sophomore year is the way to go.
Yeah, Daniel Jeremiah, same guy, talking about Tyler Booker, maybe winds up there. A little bit bigger, a little bit beefier. But at the same point, you look at Membu, who's playing in the SEC, allowing 0 sacks on 827 snaps. Okay, this guy is a dog. And I think he'd wind up really, really well with that Chicago team. But before we dive into 11 through 32, we will take a short break. And we'll be back right after this. Ba-da-boop-beep-ba-bee.
Hello. So I guess the crew's getting ready for the next segment on one of our amazing shows. I'm Nick Cohen, host of Season 20 of Hitting the Field, and let me tell you about those amazing shows. On behalf of HTF, we hope you're enjoying today's content, but I'm here to tell you about everything else we offer here at the network. Mondays at 4, HTF Bets goes live for Season 10 with 3 gamblers that, although it may not always seem like it, are here to help us all earn a little bit of extra money while we watch sports. Diego Ortiz, Tyler Brownrigg, and Andrew Gregg's ball knowledge and fun personalities make this show a fan favorite. On Tuesdays, you all loved it, so we brought it back for Season 2. It's Girls Got Game, hosted by Frankie Noble, a show blending women in sports, the biggest sports news stories, and creative segments that make for a fun and engaging show. Next is everyone's favorite sports podcast, The Combine, hosted by who other than Ty Paton, an easygoing, conversational, and technical podcast dropping Wednesdays, also on Spotify at The Combine. Then tune in Thursdays at noon for the network's main show, Season 20 of Hitting the Field, hosted by me. Here, we'll cover any sport, any topic, any story, no matter how obscure. We love some football, basketball, hockey, F1. We also cover baseball, soccer, and we even have to show the UFC love sometimes. Penultimately, TGIF, because Friday is nighttime, hosted by Kathleen Moore and Matthew Bracker. Season 8 of Nighttime is where you'll turn to for all things March Madness, UCF sports, and other collegiate events. We're ending with something brand new. HTFN has never had 6 shows running at once. Also filmed in our new podcast studio is HTFC, hosted by Edgar Rodriguez and Patrick De Leon. Football, or soccer in America, is the most popular sport in the world. Across multiple leagues and cups, soccer is a year-round sport, and HTFC is your news source to stay updated. Also on Spotify, by the way, at HTFC. Outside of our 6-show roster, be sure to tune in to our other content, such as the Studio Days vlog, run by our vlog squad of Brianna St. Jean, Michaela Croker, Ashley Rowe, and Ben Huber. Make sure to follow us on our social medias like Instagram, Facebook, and X to stay updated on all HTFN news. Remember to subscribe right here on YouTube, leave a like and comment. And with that, I think we're ready for your next segment. I'm Nick Cohen. Thank you for your continued support, and back to your regularly scheduled programming.
And we're back with more picks of the NFL draft. We're going through 11 through 32, and Nick Cohen and I, in our mock draft 1.0, have the best picks potentially ever. For the first mock 1.0, because CBS sucks, and Dan Jeremiah is usually pretty good, but I think his mocks have been kind of off lately. We'll see how they play out, though, and kicking things off, we were right at number 11, and this is one of my favorite picks in this entire draft. I mean, I have been on this guy's tail for the longest time.
You inspired me.
I did. San Francisco 49ers are taking Josh Simmons, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State, at 6'5", 310 pounds, allowing 0 sacks on 306 snaps this year in Big Ten football. Last year in Big Ten football, 1 sack allowed on 825 snaps, okay? Phenomenal athlete. Very, very big, very, very beefy. But also, this is a guy that has a lot of versatility. He played right tackle. He's played a lot of left tackle. And the 49ers, who are typically known to draft well ahead of the time they need to, are going to be looking for Trent Williams' replacement early, and I think Josh Simmons is that guy. Even if you want to bump him to right early and just let him start because you want that per capita on your pick, he's still going to wind up moving to left. It's a great pick overall. But moving to number 12, we were swayed, both of us, by a little guy named Daniel Jeremiah for a certain player that neither of us thought were going to be a first-round pick early. And who is that player, Nick Cohen? Who's the Cowboys?
So for the longest time, to the Cowboys, I had it. You might have had it. Many other people had it.
Everyone had it.
Ashton Jeanty to the Cowboys.
Yep.
Okay. No more. Not going to happen. Okay.
Nope.
You know why? Because this is arguably the deepest running back class we've seen in like 15 years. Okay.
Yeah.
It is extremely deep. Out of all the running backs, I think about 9 of them could truly be RB1s in the NFL. And I don't think that's too crazy.
No.
So where I'm getting at is they could wait to take running back. There's 7 rounds of the NFL draft, okay? And those 10 running backs, they'll still be there in the 3rd and maybe even early 4th rounds. So wait, okay? If we're counting Armand Membu from Missouri, who went to the Bears at 10, as a guard, take the second best guard in the entire class from Alabama, add another Tyler to the Great Wall of Tylers for the Cowboys on their offensive line, Tyler Booker to the Cowboys, improve the offensive line. It's the biggest issue for them because also, if you take the best value at guard in the first round, which there's not going to be that value later, and then you take your running back in a later round, then your running back's going to be better set up.
Yeah.
So I think that's very justified.
Yeah, he's an interior offensive lineman, but he's still coming in at 6'5", 330 pounds. That is criminal for an interior offensive lineman. I don't know how Alabama got away with putting him there. 0 sacks allowed in SEC football for a full season. Ridiculous. But Nick Cohen's going to stay on the hot seat because number 13 is his Miami Dolphins. And after a couple back and forth moments with a few players, Nick Cohen eventually settled on this guy right here who isn't.
Yeah, so there really was a lot of different players I thought we could take. And honestly, they were all on the offensive line. I really thought about Gray Zabel just because of his versatility from North Dakota State. But ultimately, I decided on Kelvin Banks, okay? And we do have a left tackle right now in Teron Armstead, and we have a backup that we drafted last year in Patrick Paul.
Yep.
However, yes. Oh, beast. Mm-hmm. He's massive.
Huge. You know what else is massive?
I do. Kelvin Banks is pretty massive, sitting at 6'4", 320. Okay. Things I like about Kelvin Banks.
Yeah.
He's barely going to be 21 by the time the draft comes around. He's a young player. We will have him for, hopefully, close to like 15 years if he can be really good. He can either sit behind Teron Armstead a little bit, switch him over to the right side early, like you said with Josh Simmons earlier, and he can still learn from Teron Armstead, or he is 6'4", he could slide down to guard and absolutely kill it. So, Dolphins, we need our offensive line to be much improved because we have great running backs, and we want to protect Tua as much as possible. So, Kelvin Banks to the Dolphins at number 13.
It's got to be top priority protecting Tua Tagovailoa because, this guy's just got, some kind of, a fiction to ramming his head to brick walls. This guy is just, there's something.
You know what, though? He got the good kind of CTE, which is good. However, how much more does he have left? How many more hits to the ground does he
Not
have left?
many.
I don't think even one.
Man,
He is on his last life. So,
Oh, he's a cat?
yeah.
You already used 8 of them. So, on to the Indianapolis Colts, okay? And we have them taking a very, very talented tight end out of Penn State by the name of Tyler Warren, okay?
Top 5 player in the class.
Top 10 easily, maybe top 5. But I will say for sure, this is a Travis Kelce comp if I've ever seen one, okay? This guy is one of the best elite tight ends at finding open space on a field, and he's still pulling 6'6", 257 pounds, so you have yourself quite a decent run blocker, okay? The only thing we can't let happen is him slip into Kansas City, because if they pull another Xavier Worthy and get this
Absolutely
guy,
not.
I will lose it.
Yes.
But 104 receptions, 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns for a tight end out of Penn State is relatively unheard of. This guy's going to be a force, and with your starting tight ends as Kylan Granson and Mo Alley Cox and Jelani Woods, it's time for an upgrade in Indianapolis, and this is the guy. But on to the Atlanta Falcons, okay, who I'm going to take this one, Cohen, because I know you like this guy.
Do it.
I like this guy too, but for the past 4 years, I've been saying the Atlanta Falcons are going to take an edge rusher, and they pass for offensive
You'll be
skill.
right eventually.
This is the year that it happens, and the guy is Mike Green out of Marshall, okay? The 6'4", 248-pound edge rusher recorded 17 sacks in one season alongside 3 forced fumbles. You know what, though? Out of all the edge rushers in this class, this is the most Atlanta Falcons pick I have ever seen. They could take the SEC guys. They could take the Big 10 guys, the Big 12 guys, anyone they want in a Power 4 school, and instead they get the guy from Marshall. This feels like an Atlanta Falcons decision. Okay?
Now, I will say, it could be one of the guys from Georgia, Michael Williams, or Jalen Walker. It
Love
very easily
Jalen
could
Walker.
be. I know you do.
Yeah.
Keep him in state, too. But I don't know, Mike Green. It
feels good.
feels like
It
a Falcon
feels good.
pick.
Yeah.
So yes,
I really, really like it. And then we are on to the Arizona Cardinals.
Indeed.
Cohen, the board is yours.
my second favorite team in the entire league. Okay, Marvin Harrison at 4 last year. He finished the season not even a top 2 rookie receiver from his rookie season, and that I think that's partially just because he had so much hype. Okay, if he didn't go at 4, if he even went at 6 when Malik Neighbors did, he would be getting a little less criticism.
Yep.
He's still got a great future.
Great.
Still wide receiver 1 for the Cardinals. I think they need a wide receiver 2 because I think this is Kyler's prove-it year. Get him the weapons. Trey McBride is a top 5 tight end in the league very easily. Marvin Harrison has a great future, going to have a great sophomore season, in my opinion. Get him Luther Burden as wide receiver 2.
Yeah.
This guy is great. Another Missouri guy. You've had me talk about 2 of them already.
Yeah.
He did have a bit of an off year from his 2023 campaign with 1,200 yards and 9 touchdowns. This year he had 676 and 6 touchdowns.
Yep.
But he's still worthy of a first-round pick, and I think the Cardinals will take that
Coming
opportunity.
into this season, he was a projected top 10 pick. He slipped a little bit. This NFL Combine is going to be a chance for him to showcase his talents, maybe come back into it. But moving to 17, the Cincinnati Bengals are selecting Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame. Okay, this is a pick that is a match made in heaven. Cohen and I have been talking about this. The Notre Dame DC has made his way over to Cincinnati, and this is a guy that, has seen firsthand just how talented Morrison is. If he's going to be in Taylor's ear the entire time, this is the guy you need to get. Their defense was atrocious last year.
Terrible.
The pick has to be defensive.
Yeah.
And
they lost Chidobe Awuzie last offseason. They didn't find a replacement for him.
Eli Apple's not cutting it.
No.
Okay, Morrison is immediately sitting there beautifully. And at 6'1", 190, we're talking about this. Most Bengals corners are sitting comfortably at 5'11" or 6 foot. This guy fits the mold as well.
Yeah.
But on to the Seattle Seahawks at number 18, Nick Cohen. Who do we got?
Kenneth Grant from Michigan, defensive lineman. They did take Byron Murphy last year. Mm-hmm. He's a little bit buried on the depth chart.
Yep.
But I think Grant can just slide right in there at nose tackle. And now they have a nice young defensive line under second-year head coach Mike McDonald.
Yep.
So,
and they bumped old. You just said his name. Byron Murphy over
Yes.
to defensive end on the depth chart.
They did.
Kenneth Grant is a tried and true 6'3", 340-pound nose tackle. Okay. Guy slips in right where you need him. Now, number 19, the Tampa Bay Bucks. I know this team like the back of my hand, okay? I know this team through and through. We need edge and we need corner, and those are the two spots that we need unless you want to draft a replacement for Mike Evans right now. And if it's not Ted McMillan, I swear to God, Jason, don't even think about it. At corner, Morrison just went off the board. He's no longer there. You need an edge. Go ahead and get James Pierce Jr., okay? The former projected number 1 overall pick, 6'5", 243 pounds, who had 7.5 sacks and a forced fumble this year. This guy has one of the highest ceilings in the draft, but you got to be able to take advantage of who he is as a player. And from a group that turned Yaya Diaby into a premier edge rusher, I think James Pierce Jr. could be phenomenal with this football team. Moving on, though, number 20. Oh, you're about to say something.
And really quickly with the Bucks, I mean, the kind of knock on James Pierce is his size. Okay, he's at 6'5", under 250, which is a little. That's a little under. Okay, I talked about it last week on main show. So the combine, I think, is going to be a good option for James Pierce to really prove himself, because he'll get a final weigh-in too. So if he can bulk up, get some extra added muscle. Another guy that I thought about for the Bucks, I don't exactly know if they should have taken him, Landon Jackson from Arkansas. I mean, he's the guy's 6'7".
Yeah, he's huge.
280.
Yep.
He has had 7 sacks in back-to-back seasons, 20 hurries last year. He's not a very powerful guy somehow at 6'7".
Yeah.
But, I considered it.
Yeah, big boy out of Arkansas. Gotta love it. Now, on to number 20, the Denver Broncos. I'm going to stick with it real quick just because we both agree. There's not much to be talked about here. Ashton Genty, okay?
Yes.
Right on the heels of Javonte Williams being a bum. This guy stunk for a long time. Get him out of town. New era. Bo Nix needs a new era of running backs, and this is the guy to do it.
He stays a Bronco.
Yeah, he does stay a Bronco. 5'9", 215, and 2,600 yards and 29 touchdowns in one
That's
senior
disgusting.
season. That is ridiculous. This guy immediately makes a difference in Denver, but now we push onward and forward to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Nick Cohen, who do we got?
We have Emeka Egbuka. Now, I'm not Egbuka's number 1 fan, and I don't really know why. I just don't. There's something about him. I don't think and I think it's because I don't see him as a wide receiver 1 in the NFL. And that hasn't changed, okay? But he could be wide receiver 2 for the Steelers behind George Pickens, right ahead of Roman Wilson from last year, who got injured before the season even started.
Yep.
So Steelers need another weapon. They got it.
This is a guy who's an elite wide receiver 2 coming right out of the gate. I mean, when we look before the Bengals franchise tag T. Higgins, this was a guy that would slip comfortably into the wide receiver 2 role in Cincinnati. But
and I guess he's kind of always been a wide receiver 2 at Ohio State. Because they had Marvin Harrison, they had Jackson Smith and Jigba, they had Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave even, because Egbuka's been there forever.
But then they get Jeremiah Smith.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think he will slide in perfectly.
I mean, guy's a beautifully placed wide receiver 2. He's going to fit very, very nicely under George Pickens. But then on to 22, we have the LA Chargers. We'll make it real simple, make it real easy. Okay, Colston Loveland, the tight end
from
out of Michigan
too.
Yep.
Come on,
comes back and joins his old boy Jim Harbaugh up there in Los Angeles. I mean, Harbaugh worked with him for quite a few years, knows his game, and when you need a tight end, this is the kind of guy that's going to do it. You get Justin Herbert a new weapon, this new system that they think is going to be phenomenal. You need a blocking tight end. This is the guy to do it. Okay, 6'5", 245, gotta love it. And then we're on to the Green Bay Packers.
Okay? They need cornerback.
They need DB. They need cornerback.
They need
defense
Jahdae Barron.
in general. Jahdae Barron, that's the guy. Come on, what do we like so much about Jahdae Barron?
He's really versatile. He's got good size as well, and he's a great athlete. Good stats on the year. He's just a good cornerback prospect, and I think he'll slide pretty nicely with Jair. Even though there's been talks about trading Jair or cutting him even for cap casualties, don't do that, okay? Off year or not, Jair is still a top 15 cornerback in the NFL. You don't just let that go. And adding Jahdae Barron would take a little bit of the stress off of Jair. Kalen King is not going to cut it. Eric Stokes is a free agent. Hasn't really been awesome. So just slide in another rookie there.
Yeah, and we're on to 24. Minnesota Vikings select Walter Nolan, defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Now, this is another team that has done phenomenal in their defensive selections under Brian Flores, who they just brought in. The guy's been great. They go out and they get Dallas Turner last year. Great pick. Jonathan Grenard, been much better than we thought. Jonathan Bullard, also very, very good.
Don't forget one person.
Who's the one person?
Andrew Van Ginkel.
Andrew Van Ginkel, former Miami Dolphin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, guy's terrific. But they've done such a phenomenal job drafting defense. You think they stick it up. They do. 6'3", 305-pound defensive tackle out of Ole Miss. Walter Nolan does it for them. 6.5 sacks as a defensive lineman. Criminally underrated. Okay, this guy could slip even as high as maybe 15 in some mocks, but we have him going 24. And then we're on to Nick Cohen's maybe favorite player in the draft.
Maybe.
With the 25 pick.
Jack
of the Houston
Besh
Texans. Yes.
of TCU is going to stay in Texas, go to the Houston Texans. He has a great story. First of all, he exploded this year, just with great numbers this year.
He did.
And then he won the Senior Bowl MVP because he is a senior, and just balled out in that game. 6 receptions, I want to say 68 yards. And then best of all, well,
worst of all,
but good motivation for him. His brother, unfortunately, was a victim in the New Orleans attack on New Year's. And so he has that chip on his shoulder to always honor his brother in every single game that he's going to play in the NFL. And if he has a good combine, records some good 40-yard dash times, doesn't drop much, runs some good routes, the 3-cone drill, I think Jack Besh could solidify himself as a round 1 pick, and the Texans need a wide receiver.
They do. In fact, with Diggs leaving, potentially Tank Dell on the injured reserve list the entire next season. But on to number 26. This is the guy that we briefly mentioned earlier, the FCS offensive tackle, Gray Zabel out of North Dakota State. Clocking in at 6'6", 305 pounds. Very versatile, can play almost anywhere on the offensive line that you need him, maybe outside center. But 1 sack allowed on 970 snaps. Okay, that is a great number to look at if you are in need of an offensive lineman, which the Rams are. But you kind of got to ask yourself, that 1 sack allowed in the FCS, that's kind of a worry. But, I mean, it's 1 sack. I mean, maybe you slip up one time. Maybe your foot catches something weird, okay? You're down there. But on to number 27. I'm not even going to try to pronounce this.
Azarie Thomas?
There you go. Cornerback out of Florida State, heading to Baltimore Ravens. You remember Kingsley Suamatata? If y'all go watch that last mock show, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But this is a cat out of Florida State with 6'2", 198 pounds as his weigh-ins currently before the combine. 4 pass deflections, 1 interception. But what's one really good thing people can look forward to in this guy's game?
He just doesn't give up a lot of touchdowns. And the Ravens, they really struggled last year. Their big struggle, offense, defense, their big struggle was passing defense.
Yep.
They gave up so many yards. They drafted Nate Wiggins last year, and they have good secondary pieces. But there's just something missing. I think it's depth. So Azarie Thomas is going to slide perfectly in there. And I'm not going to say hopefully, he is going to improve the Ravens' passing defense.
100%. And then moving forward to my second favorite team, the Detroit Lions, Motor City Dan Campbell. We know how this team drafts, okay? They look for guys that love the game of football. They look for guys that are gritty, scrappy, dirty in their play. And, you almost want to say Cam Scatterbo is going to be a Detroit Lion because of the way that guy plays.
That would be so fire.
But, I mean, with DeMont and Gibbs, you just can't.
If DeMont wasn't there, 100%.
No. But the next best piece that they could add, Jack Sawyer, edge rusher out of Ohio State, clocking in 6'5", 260 pounds, 9 sacks, 3 forced fumble, 1 interception in the same room as JTT. And I don't know why I'm blanking on it. The other not TJ Sanders, who's Tyleik Williams. The defensive tackle out of Ohio State. Same room as those guys, still clocking those stats, right? This guy is a menace on the defensive front. I think he slips beautifully into the Detroit defense, and I think he kind of upholds that hard-nosed love of football that they have over there. But then we're on to number 29, the Washington Commanders, and they need a lot of pieces, a lot of guys going into free agency. Cohen, who are we looking?
Michael Williams from Georgia. He has great stats on the year, and they could improve at edge. I do think they're going to miss out on Myles Garrett sweepstakes,
unfortunately.
So Michael Williams is one of the better edges in the entire class. Take him at 29.
Very much so. Number 30, Buffalo Bills are going to select Matthew Golden, the wide receiver out of Texas. Guy is kind of a bum, actually.
Not necessarily, but the Bills are bums.
The Bills are bums. I think they're both bums. It's a bum matching up with a bum.
Perfect.
It's that wide receiver room of Matt Collins, Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel. I don't like it. I don't like it whatsoever. And you need somebody that's going to be a one. I don't believe Matthew Golden is that one. Guy is 6 foot, 195 pounds, and this year 58 receptions, 987 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I think
he'll slide in at the 2. Keon stays at the X, and then Shakir is the slot.
He is a slot merchant.
I like that.
I don't hate it. But I think the Bills...
I hope it fails.
Bills checked their depth chart, and they kind of mistook the 2023, 2024 for the 2024, 2025, because I think they were looking at Xavier Worthy and my boy A.D. Mitchell, but unfortunately they have the wrong year on paper. Golden's not that guy. Next up, we have the Kansas City Chiefs selecting Derek Harmon, defensive lineman out of Oregon.
Doesn't have to start year 1.
Doesn't have to start year 1.
But Chris Jones is getting up there in age.
He is.
He's still great, but he's there's no doubt he's on the wrong side of 30.
Yeah.
So, draft his replacement. Plain and simple.
This is another team like the Niners who are willing to draft players ahead of when they needed to draft.
When you're going to the Super Bowl every single year, you're not rushing to draft a certain position.
Yeah, exactly. So they can let this guy cook under Chris Jones for a little bit. Eventually, this guy's a phenomenal starter, okay? And that kind of worries me a little bit, but it is what it is. And finally, we have the Philadelphia Eagles. Oh, what's that? The chime comes back in. The pick has been traded.
Okay.
Yeah, y'all thought there was no trades in this draft. Unfortunately, you're wrong.
You are wrong. Okay, so but here's our thought process, okay?
Here it is.
Pre-draft. The Browns are going to trade Myles Garrett to the Eagles.
Yep.
And it's not because they want to help the Eagles, but it's because the Eagles have the most... they have the best pieces.
Yep.
They have draft capital.
Yep.
They can afford Myles Garrett. Yes,
they do.
Exactly. And
unfortunately.
And, I mean, there's no doubt this team would be... It already is, but would solidify themselves as Super Bowl favorites for the following season again.
Yep.
But they're going to trade for Myles Garrett. So now the Browns possess pick 32. However... the Browns also possess pick 33, first pick in the second round. So they're going to try and get a little more capital. I love this for the Browns personally.
I do too.
If you don't have to trade for Myles Garrett, that's ideal, obviously. But that's not the situation we're in. So they're going to keep 33, obviously, but now trade out of 32 because you can get value for it. Trade with a team who wants to go back into the first round pick for what? A quarterback, because you want that fifth-year option. So.
You do. Who's this guy going to be? This guy's going to be the Ole Miss legend, Jackson Dart. Okay,
fire name.
He's so fire.
Oh
I'm
God.
Incredibly high up on this quarterback. I think he's
competing for quarterback too.
Yeah, he's competing easily for quarterback too. On paper, I'd even consider him a candidate for quarterback 1 on paper. 4,700 total yards, 32 total touchdowns, 6 picks. Guy's clocking at 6'2", 225 pounds, and he's got legs under him. Whereas Cam Ward is the pocket passer, Jackson Dart is your dual threat.
Jackson Dart will be throwing at the combine this year. He will be, and I think that is the smartest decision he could have possibly made.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe will also be, and then one other, Riley Leonard, and Cam Ward is on the fence. But Jackson Dart deciding to throw out the combine is the smartest decision he could have possibly made.
Ever. And this guy's a dog. I hate to say it because I'm a Bucs fan. I don't want him to go in NFC South other than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but it is what it is. Winds up with a team that is going to let him start immediately. It's a good fit for this guy, and then the Cleveland Browns can sit for the rest of the night and think about what they're going to do at 33 in round 2. But I
think it's Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M.
I don't want that is our Nick Scorton. I think that is a fairly good mock for a mock 1.0. Obviously, things have to happen. This New Orleans move doesn't happen if Myles Garrett isn't traded pre-draft, which we all think he's going to be. But in that same situation, we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
So our next mock, I should say, is going to come in about 3 weeks.
Okay.
Right after week 2 of the free agency period. We're going to look at who went where, what everybody's needs are, updated with a second mock 2.0. Before then, taking our time to adjust our player analysis after the combine and doing a mock 3.0 right before the draft.
Okay. I can get down with that.
Yes, sir. Look forward to all of them. 2 more mocks coming in the near future, and that is mock 1.0 from NRC and TJP. Okay, baby. Hey, double alliteration. We got to go over. What's that thing called where you break down the
I don't know.
Abbreviation.
Yes.
Double abbreviation.
Oh.
Hey,
We're
that's
journalism
what it is.
majors.
It's not alliteration. But that is all the time, unfortunately, we have for the Combine. We'll be back better than ever next week, as per usual. And for Nick Cohen, for myself, and for the boys over in the producer chair, y'all the best. We'll see you next week. Peace out.